chamber. He looked down at the body of the High King and could see why the young bride looked so shocked. The great barbarian, the flagellum Dei, was sprawled on his back on the soft silk bed, his mouth open like a snoring drunk. Blood ran down from his nose and mouth into a wet pool at his head. Priscus stepped to the corner and lifted the girl Ildiko from where she cowered. He pushed aside the long blonde hair from her ear and whispered, "It's all right. He's gone now, and there's nothing more you can do here. Come." It was all just soothing talk, just a human voice to comfort her without saying anything. Ildiko was the High King's 7th wife, and in spite of her beauty she was barely more than a child, brought from her Germanic tribe to marry the conqueror. She understood Priscus's Latin as well as her own Gothic, but he wasn't sure which languages the guards spoke, so said little. He helped her out into the light of the rising sun and the fresh air. She looked pale and weak like a ghost. He was hoping to get her away from the crowd before some warrior suspected the king's death was her fault. The ignorant were often suspicious, and even if a person died of a lightning strike, someone might have conjured it. He spotted a few of her female retainers, the group of servants and kinswomen who had come with her for her wedding. They were standing a distance off, watching the proceedings anxiously. He turned her over to them, and they hurried her away from the growing crowd. Priscus was still looking in that direction to be sure she wasn't stopped, when strong hands roughly gripped both his arms. He craned his neck to see his captors. He barely recognized either of them, although he'd seen them every time he'd come to meet with the High King. They both had fresh mourning cuts on their cheekbones, so blood covered the lower half of their faces. They had changed in demeanor since Priscus had sat with them last night, laughing and drinking to celebrate their lord's wedding. The two men dragged him into the king's tent, and the crowd of warriors parted to let them pass into the inner chamber. Inside the chamber, the body had not been moved. Standing over it were Ardaric, king of the Gepids, and Onagesius, Attila's most trusted friend. Ardaric knelt and picked up the jug of wine that the High King had drunk before he'd died. He said, "This is the wine that Ildiko poured him last night." Onagesius picked up the goblet lying beside the king. Priscus said, "For weeks, he had a sickness that gave him nosebleeds. Maybe it got worse while he slept, and he drowned in his own blood. That's what it looks like, doesn't it?" Ardaric snorted in contempt. "Nobody dies of a nosebleed. He's been in battle all his life. He was wounded many times and never bled to death. It was poison." "Do you think so?" asked Priscus, his eyes wide in shock. "I do," said Ardaric. "And I've been thinking about you. Emperor Theodosius sent you to us 4 years ago with the ambassador Maximinus. Your interpreter Vigilus was caught in a plot to assassinate Attila. Instead of having all of you killed, Attila sent you back to your emperor in Constantinople. Maybe that was a mistake, and maybe Vigilus was not the only one who came to kill the king." Onagesius poured wine into Attila's goblet, then held it out. "Prove you didn't poison him. Drink it." Priscus said, "I don't know if it's poisoned or not. If the wine is poisoned, that won't prove I was the poisoner. I certainly wasn't in here with the High King and his bride on their wedding night. All my drinking it might do is kill me too." "Your fear convicts you." Onagesius's free hand moved toward the hilt of his sword. Priscus took the goblet. "If I die, remember I'm an innocent man." He lifted it to his lips and drained it. The others waited and watched Priscus closely. Elac stepped closer. "Well, Priscus?" "I don't feel anything. It tastes like wine. Bitter, sour, like all other wine. Sweet like fruit, but with a few